maybe out there.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
All right,
All right.
ready?
Start the meeting.
All right, so we're going to call the meeting to order at 5:23. All rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
All right, you seated? All right, I need a motion to go into non-public. What?
Roll call, make sure we have.
Oh, yeah, we do have a quorum. We have Emily, myself, and we have Peg. I don't know where Melissa is, but
She's on her way.
she's on her way. All right, so I need a motion to go into non-public per RSA 91-A:3, 2, C, E, and L.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
We have to say our names.
Okay, that's right.
Emily?
Paul, aye?
Hey, guys.
All right, so we're officially non-public at 5:25. We're going to retire into the other room for that non-public, and then we'll be back at the end.
So I apologize about the delay. We are open.
We have to come out of non-public.
Well,
We came out of non-public.
You went into non-public, but I didn't hear you guys come back in from non-public.
We came back out of non-public in the other room at 6:05.
Okay, thank you. Do you know who first, who
I made the
second?
motion, and Emily seconded.
Thank you.
No, Melissa seconded.
Sorry, Melissa, I'm sorry.
I'm taking minutes of those, Sammy, so. I thought it was you.
I just want to put that part on my notes, that's
Okay.
all.
You have to do that thing, right?
All right, so I make a motion, seal the non-public minutes indefinitely so as not to render the proposed action ineffective and for reputation.
Second.
Okay, Melissa?
Aye. Aye.
Emily, aye?
Aye.
And Peg, aye. Okay, thank you. All right.
Turn it over to the MC.
start dancing? Okay. Paul, would you say the pledge, please?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The first thing we'll do is do the public notice. On Wednesday, February 10th, the Milton School Board will be holding a public hearing in the cafeteria at Little High School and Library, commencing at, well, I apologize for that, at 6 p.m. The purpose of hearing to accept additional unanticipated revenues as the following. So I open this meeting. The first one is from the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, CRRSA, for up to $489,000 for the purpose of hiring additional staff, purchasing cleaning supplies and PP and safety support. I'm opening it up for discussion.
I have a question, Doug.
Go ahead.
Did it change from the 560 on that?
Yes, it did.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
What was it?
480?
180.
489,
Okay, thank you.
and the other one is 6850, down below.
68,500.
500, I apologize.
68,500?
Yes, at the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any discussion?
You need a motion to go over? Did you make the motion and I should second it?
Go ahead.
I second accept the $4,000 for the CRSA Appropriations Act.
Second.
Second.
All right. Open. Go ahead. Do we have any discussion? Now, can this money be used to definitely be taking care of our additional hires? Nate?
Yes, if it's, yes, yes.
Okay, just want to be clear on that. Anybody else? All right.
Well,
Okay.
we'll vote on that? Aye.
Okay. We accepted it, okay. Peg?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. I close that one. I'll open the next one. Up to $68,500 for promising future grants for the purpose of training staff, students, and community, and to purchase supplies. I need a motion to.
I will make a motion to accept $68,500, from Promising Futures Grant.
I'll second. It says up to 68,500. I'll second it.
Okay, go ahead. Any discussion? Now, Nate, what does this exactly pertain to?
It's to explore multi-tiered systems of support for behavioral health and wellness.
So, for the nurses and stuff?
For training staff, for students and community as well.
Okay. Anybody else?
Can everyone hear me? It's for, like MTS is multi-tiered systems of support for behavior. This is to do the, like, social emotional well-being. So what it will do is offer workshops for teachers, parents, community members, and being part of this, like, cohort that accepts this grant money. We don't just get the ones we sign up for, but the ones all over the state. So it gives experts, who are doing some trainings, we get offers to all of them. So we accept this money, we'll be providing our own personal Wilton ones, but then we get them from all over the state. Only we accept the money through.
What I forgot to ask is there a timeline by when we have to have this money spent for both of them?
The timeline of the first one is September 2023. So that was for the, first one. And then this one, they are trying to create a waiver because basically this money has to be spent by June 30th. But they're trying to make a waiver with the state now to make it so it can be further because we are trying to cram a lot of information down everyone's throat at once. But if not, then it will be June 30th. And the money is already allocated to all of these fundings, to a lot of different speakers, but that will be, those contracts will hopefully be paid by June 30th.
I'm sorry,
Anybody else?
could you tell me again, did you say September for the first one?
September 2023.
Okay, thank you.
And these are grants that you actively sought out, correct?
So the Promising Futures one is because we do choose love. They emailed us, they emailed the state and said, who wants to apply for this grant? You have, until Friday. So that one, you have to apply, you have to do. The coronavirus one is the newest one that they are just giving out based on numbers. So they gave us that one. So the other one had to be.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Now, this new 1.9 trillion thing that's coming out that hasn't quite passed yet, will there possibly be money coming to our school or that also?
I have no idea.
Okay. No, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Okay.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. I close this. I go into the regular meeting. All right. What I should have mentioned, there is color copies of the MES opening and figures up front and comments from the survey. Up front here on the desk. There is black and white ones too. But. Okay, going to Wednesday, January 27th, 2021, remote in-person public hearing meeting minutes will be page 1.
I will make a motion to approve, January 27th, public hearing minutes with couple corrections.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, on page 2, partway down, there was something about the cost going to be less because we are losing aid for students, and it says that are low, and I think it was supposed to be low income / homeschooled. There was not just low. A couple of grammatical errors, changing P-H-E-I-R to H-E. YRE, and then just a formatting issue on page 4. School board business, number 5 was kind of stuff. That was formatted.
And I also changed Jen's amount to 25 on page 4 for the amount of, how many did we get? I changed it to 25 anyways.
Okay.
Is that all you have, Ted? Does anybody else have any other corrections? Okay, moving on. Peg?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, Wednesday, January 27th, 2021, remote person, non-public meeting minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the January 27th non-public with zero corrections.
Do I have a second?
I would second it, but I dropped out of phone signal, so I was not available for non-public, so they might want to take me off the non-public one. Apparently, there's no phone service in northern Maine at all.
Okay, then I'll approve what I was there. Any more anybody else, any corrections? Other than, none? Peg?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Same.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, does the board have any problem with letting people comment to the front, doing it at the beginning and the end?
I don't have any problem. I think it might be easier if we wait till the end, because there's a lot of stuff, but I don't care.
Well, we have things on the agenda I think people are gonna wanna speak to detail, are we not? Survey?
Yeah, we can do all the regular information first and then.
Okay.
That's why I think it might
Public
answer some,
speak when they get more information, yeah.
right, it might
Okay.
answer some questions.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, now I'm gonna, do I have any public comments at this point? Before we get into it?
I was just
Go ahead.
going to, sorry.
You want the speaker? You'll be heard.
Tammy has one too, Doug, after.
Damien?
Sorry for my dog. I'm speaking on behalf of the Milton Education Association, and as part of the organization, we expect to not be disparaged at meetings. By examples, tones, whispers, and accusations made about certain grade levels or special ed services, you are, in effect, identifying teachers without naming names, which is not productive. We have been accused of not contacting parents, not helping students, and giving too much or too little work. Teachers have reached out to students and parents. They are open for conversations, extra help, and discussions regarding any concerns. They are working in school each and every day and may not be available to respond at the precise moment an email or call arrives. But we'll get back as quickly as possible. For every one of the parents who has spoken at meetings, there are many others who feel differently. We know that there are parents who are frustrated and angry, but we ask that you do not take it out on the people who are in school each and every day doing the best for your kids. At these meetings, the school board should be doing what is best for every child who goes to school in this district. It does not help that on January 13th, the school board vote was taken to continue with the hybrid model until April 9th. And at the next meeting, that vote was discarded
for a new survey of school and plan for MES that is presented at this meeting. The school board's action was not appropriately done. This move was not on the school board agenda and was brought up in the school board during public comment and not part of the school board business. The information about how other districts are educating their students was misleading and made no mention of the disruption the frequent quarantining has caused in these districts. What angers and worries us the most is that the survey that was sent out will potentially eliminate the idea of a public education for all children in Milton. You are forcing parents to come to school or not, or to make that decision. You're trying to make it black and white decision, and it's not. We hope that as a school board, that you do not subject a parent to have to make that choice or decision. The administrative team and teachers have worked tirelessly and continuously together to make schools safe for the children of Milton. The plans developed required a lot of time and effort to put together. That time and effort poured into new plans every other meeting takes away from the day-to-day running of our schools. No one wished for this pandemic. We need to deal with the cards that have been dealt to us. Nothing in the CDC mandates and the state guidelines has changed. Milton School District is open and students are coming into school. We are not closed. We are look forward to when we can have the students back in school safely, which unfortunately we feel is not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? I'm not certain whether you're going to have additional public comment, but from what I think I understand, my question and observation cuts right to it. You may, either on the school board or in general, be familiar with HB 20, which is called the Richard Dick Hinch Education Freedom Act. You may remember Speaker Hinch, who attended the Republican caucus, was elected speaker, and was dead a week later unmasked from COVID-19. The provisions of that transfer the adequacy grant to an individual. There's no requirement that that person be in a private school, religious or secular. And it is uncertain as to whether or not that fund taken away from the school would provide, for example, specialized sports training in the summer camp, and would provide for private monies for SAT coaching. Interesting. I look forward to finding out what the school board will do on HB 20. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, you go ahead, Tammy.
Did you want me to make my, I have a couple of things here that a couple of members of the community wanted me to read to you guys. If I am able to do that, I would like to do that. The first one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The first one is from a community member, I believe, if it's okay, I say her name, Jennifer Pfeiffer. I have sent detailed emails to Mr. Savina and to Doug on the school board. And basically what she was saying is that even though, let's see, I apologize. I felt that MES has done a great job with their current model and feel that it has been successful compared to the others, especially Rochester. Even though they are full-time, Milton has had actually more days in the classroom. They have been back to full-time and weekly. They have cases and have to quarantine. Yesterday, they had to send home 5 teachers who had exposure. I understand that there are some parents who want full-time, but I don't think they understand that it may not be as consistent as they are hoping and could actually be a more negative situation and create more issues. I have been very happy with full remote The teachers have done a great job with the curriculum set up for through Google, making it flexible but still having deadlines to create responsibility and structure. I like that they have 2 meetings a week and they get a chance to interact and ask questions when needed while not being stuck in the screen for long periods of time and allowed to independently work. And they are available if needed. And the second one is from Leanne Wallace. And she says that, I understand that a lot of people are having issues with the hybrid remote school schedule, but I would love for some people to take into consideration the fact that we have had a very successful hybrid remote program going well, as is I. I've had a very good hybrid remote with my children. Some of the schools that are in full-time every day are not having a successful program. They are having to quarantine kids and teachers off and on consistently or close to the school. And I don't think that it is a healthy and consistent environment for any kids. And I would think that it would be harder. Oh, something happened to can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we lost our picture.
Okay, but can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna keep going then. And I would think it would be harder on the full-time parents to not know if they're, going to have to find childcare week to week because somebody in the school has been confirmed positive. I think the reason that the numbers are so low in kids is because so many schools are having a hybrid or a remote style learning. So of course, the numbers among children will be lower as they are having less interaction. I know I'm not the only person or the only parent who is nervous about sending their child back to full-time school, and I would prefer to keep my child in remote. I believe that the teachers at the elementary school have been doing a fantastic job with the hybrid and the remote learning. I know that my children have always gotten their questions answered when needed and have what they need all on the Google Classrooms. It is an easy program to maneuver around. I fear that putting the kids in full-time school with no other options will cause the numbers for COVID to rise. Hybrid is working because the kids have been separated into much smaller classes. If we were to throw everybody back in, I know that my boys were in classrooms last year that were 22 to 24 kids per classroom. I don't believe that the school has the ability to social distance 22 to 24 kids per classroom. I think the low numbers with the hybrid program is what is working for our town in keeping our kids at a much lower risk. I also believe that we are busting our butts to do all the safety protocols to keep our town as healthy as possible. I understand that we all take a chance and to go to the grocery store or people to have to go to work, but why should we put our children at risk? Let's see. I believe the remote program should stay until either we have COVID-19 better under control, or we have the ability to properly social distance and follow protocols in the school system. I'm all set. Thank you.
Anybody else?
It's just a clarification question. I'm just asking a clarification question. On your agenda, when you reference RSA, is that a lowercase I or a lowercase L?
Are you talking about going into non-public?
Yes.
It's A, B, C. It's IJK, it's not L.
All right, so it should be an I and not an L, correct?
Well, we're not gonna have any non-public tonight.
No, I was just asking because I want to
No,
ask
he
for
was
it.
just asking.
I think it's an L.
Hold on, I got one in front of me. Hold on, I got one. It should be on the non-public one that Peg just talked about. It's ABCIJK.
Donald.
But we'll double check anyways.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, for the mining historical records, I have always asked that in addition to the alphabet soup, that the town board or the school board give the topical reference so that you'll be able to find it more easily.
We all set, we're moving on? I'll let you come up here right front, to be the chairman. Give your name.
Right?
Amy Johnson. I am here asking questions for some other parents that can't make it. Some were questioning what's going to happen after February vacation. Are we going to have to go remote again?
We haven't discussed that.
We haven't discussed that. Okay. And then also snow days. We've been having real snow days, and the problem is we didn't have remote learning. So last week, my kids are on the full cohort. I won't specify which child, but they only went to school one day last week in person and only had 2 days total of work assignments, one day being the day that they were actually in school, and haven't had any assignments. And one assignment that the child had to be due for tomorrow, we can't even get into the program. We're still waiting for a response back. Right now, while I'm here, he's at home waiting for a response on how to get in there and find the assignment. So I guess the question is, can we do remote instead of real snow days so that those kids are actually getting work days and work to do, rather than calling old-fashioned snow days? Now, my kids only had 1 day of instruction last week total and have had barely any work assigned. Well, one child had plenty of work assigned, but the other one has not. So that's it.
Anybody else? I'm gonna move on then. Earl, are you here? Is there any Earl?
Earl, you're on mute. No, you're still on mute.
Earl is gone.
Oh, nope, still on mute.
Nope.
Can you
Can I unmute him? I don't know.
No, Steve, can you unmute him?
Steve's not in the room.
Oh, all right.
And now,
Oh, there
how
you
about
go.
now?
Yes.
Did he
There you
unmute
go.
me?
He must
Okay.
have.
Yeah,
You're all set.
Thank you, sir. We're on financial reports.
Yep, we are financials.
Well, it says superintendent administrative report. Did you want to say something before I go on? You all
They,
set?
all our info, we did embed when we discuss the areas under school board. We would just be repeating ourselves.
So you're all set.
We have one thing of note that occurred tonight. Jan can speak to. We had an event that occurred over at the high school, an electrical event. Jan?
Okay.
So we did have an issue with the electrical panel in the main office, so it had to be disconnected. Unfortunately, with it disconnected, the main office doesn't have cameras, intercom, phones, power, bells, a bus radio, the ability to open any doors. when we buzz people in, or the ability to check any doors. Our computers, our secretaries won't have computers or email or phones. So we need to be remote while the electricians come in and repair that tomorrow. As the day progresses, they'll be able to let us know, if they can fully fix it, plus once they get it back online, they're gonna check the rest of the building to make sure that there wasn't any fallout anyplace else. So we will be following a normal gold day 7-period schedule remotely tomorrow.
Anything else, Earl, before I go on to financial?
One thing, we should note that MES will be in and doing the hybrid. The electrical impact does not affect MES. So Newt Middle High School will be remote. MES will be hybrid.
Okay, is that it for you?
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, go on financial report. Period of 1/1/21 to 1/31/2021. Page 9 to 34, it's the monthly expense report. Do we have any questions?
I had some, but sent them off to Nate, who of course responded to me. A lot of them, because we're still working on a default budget, there are still lines that are over because teachers have moved from position A to position B, and the original person was making X number and the new person is making more, so it's always showing up as over. You know, over because of Zoom, doing all the meetings with Zoom. And the only other question that I really had was, again, transfer to food service was over, but it's encumbered. We're not, and Nate said he's not really sure what it's gonna be. But again, working against the default budget, you know, it's kind of hard. So, I mean, they're just my typical every month questions, and Nate very nicely answers them all for me, and I'm prepared for the budget committee meeting.
Anybody else? Moving on, monthly expense report, period 1/21 to 1/31/21, pages 35 and 36. Any questions?
That's the revenue. No, you said expense.
Oh, sorry. Correct.
No question.
All right, moving on. Gotta get this one. Monthly grant report, 1/1/21 to 1/31/21, pages 37 to 42. Any questions?
Of course. It's not really a question, I just wanted to clarify something with Nate that I think people need to know, is that we should be beyond 50% getting grant money in, and we are not, but you have to expense before we can get the money. So we have to spend the money, charge the grant, and then they send us the money, and because we get the reports when we do, we're a month behind in the actual funding for the grant. So I just wanted people to know that. Thank you.
People can't get into the Zoom, it needs to be unlocked, I guess. The people trying to log in and listen, but they can't. Instead of still a locked meeting.
Nobody can get in on Zoom on this meeting.
I can't hear whoever was talking.
The people on the outside can't get in on the Zoom.
I don't know why. I've already reposted things twice, so I've already reposted it again. They need to go back and look, because the first one that I had had missed something, but the second one that I just posted recently around 6 o'clock is the current one.
Who's not able to get in?
Daniel Marie.
Daniel Marie can't get in.
I'll post it on the Milton PTA.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on. Milton School District Food Service operating cost for, December 2020. Pages, 43 and 44. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Milton School Trust Fund balance as of December 31st, 2020, page 45. Any questions? The backup material from the Trustees Trust Fund, that's the report that backs up these figures, that's page 46. Any questions? Now, I don't know who talks about, page 47 and, 48 are CARES, SPSRF number 1, SPRSF number 2, pending ESSR2. Who put it in there?
Nate, you have that in there?
Yeah, Nate,
Jen, that's you and Jen.
yep, we put it in. It's it's an updated version of our expenses for the big grants for the CARES Act and COVID related expenses.
Jen, were you coming up to speak, or you all set? Okay, we all set with that?
Yep.
Get aside. Okay, page 49 is the STEM grant curriculum. Emily Baker is talking on that.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
Basically, Ms. Baker looked at, received a grant from NASCO for up to $4,500 worth of curriculum. It's not revenue. It's not monies. It's like books and curriculum stuff. You know, that's a quick version of it. She is online if you have any questions about it, but she had that paragraph right there.
Good. Want me to read it out loud?
Yeah, if you want. You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Milton Elementary School is happy to receive the STEM grant from NASCO. This program will give the schools access to STEM IT, the nation's leading STEM-based curriculum and website. STEM IT is used for supplementing science, technology, engineering, and mathematics into everyday curriculum like English, social studies, science, and mathematics. For example, if a teacher is doing a lesson on a preposition and they think their students need more work with the prepositions, they can assign a lesson on STEM IT. Students will start out by reviewing prepositions and then electronically designing or coding a boat to float on top of water. Having something that they can create is very helpful when learning a new skill. That's from Emily Baker.
Okay.
Correct.
Moving on.
Actually,
Go ahead.
I wouldn't, because it's over $500, I would need you guys to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the STEM
I will second.
grant.
But what was the total amount?
It's up to $4,500 in supplies, curriculum.
40. Any discussion? Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye. Aye.
done.
Thank you.
Moving on, moving on. Okay. This is to be the big packet right here. So to be the review of the survey. So who would like to start?
Okay, Doug, I can begin if I may. the first part, everyone on the board received the info, and tonight, whoever is there, there's enough of these so it's transparent, so everyone can see what the loss adequacy aid would be if a student did not either be in the hybrid or remote if they homeschooled. Now, not to complicate things, I know Larry Brown spoke to the HB 20, and at the deliberative, he brought up this point, and a different night, we will explore the ramifications of it. So in actuality, this chart will be of use because we can see what the student accounts, if there was any type of version of school choice. If you remember 4 or 5 years ago, I guess Larry Brown had brought it up, and I had indicated, I was reading the tea leaves, I guess it was 3 years, that the movement, the political movement in the state was for school choice and to provide this type of thing, which would be a tremendous disadvantage to schools, to public schools, in that they would lose funds. But I would think on a different night, we would go into it in depth and take a look at it. It also will be explored within the venue of the subcommittee we have that will be meeting on Monday at 6 o'clock, which will also be on Zoom, as we look into students as to the warrant article of last year. Part of that discussion, and it's a new piece of it, deals with the HB 20 and the subsequent bills, parallel bills that are being done. But getting back to point, what this does, it gives you a lucid compendium, as we spoke about last time, of the impact that the district would have for each student. And we kind of did a cross-check in math at the administration meeting, because I said to Nate, I said, well, if we're getting 2.3 mil in aid, if we lost 5 students or 10 students, and we did the math of the impact. So both ways it kind of proved out. He did the long form, but like an old-fashioned elementary math, we checked our work, and it came out. The next part of it is in depth. The administrative team, Jan had gotten this, and with the administrative team, we broke it down. John Safita helped in terms of the comments here. But it's I have a feeling that this is for information, and I think the board at the time, members of the board were looking and saying, we don't have the money, whatever time we go all in, that one of the areas that was under consideration was the funds to do it. This was before we approved tonight the 496, which really answers that. So in the crisis of the pandemic we have, what complicates it all the more, as you continually search for more information, things keep evolving. Whereas money, funding, we began to do the charts a while back, and we took a look at it. I believe it was 248,000 that the school would have to come up with, that was beyond the prior CARES grants that we had. So I think that the board, I'm not putting words in their mouth, but some members of the board said, okay, let's get the information so that we know the different things that we can take a look at, the scenarios. But in everything we do, we get information that helps us as we delve into this. So at this point, I'm going to have Jan speak to the chart here on the parent surveys. And there's a lucid compendium here, and there's the transparency. So it is no secret. We don't have the specific parent names, and we did not change what they wrote, and we did not cherry pick certain ones that were a certain way or not, and we were inclusive to include it all. So as everyone could see, they could see how the broad array of people felt. So Jan, can you talk to the survey?
Yes. So, as you see, we had 342 responses. That was about a 71% response rate. I received about 100 comments. The parent had more than one child and they made the same comment. We removed the duplicates. You didn't have to see the same thing over and over. There were 25 comments in support of us going fully back. Generally, those are saying they want their child back in school full-time if they're struggling with hybrid. Some did have concerns. Some really did rather delay it until February or later in March. There were 48 that had concerns or objections even to the survey. They had concerns with COVID still being prevalent. Why would we want to go back? They either have health issues with the child or with a family member at home. Some preferred the hybrid model over full return, didn't like that we didn't give them that option. Some felt backed into a corner or that they were not given a real choice in the survey. Some were upset that no remote option was offered. One noted that Rochester has fully reopened and now they have over 12 cases. I think at the time it was just middle and elementary school, now it's high school also. Have had to go back to quarantine and remote. And one noted that the board noted that one death to suicide was too many, but how about a death due to COVID? There were 16 that had some additional questions and 3 gave kudos to staff.
Go ahead.
Okay, is there discussion from the board?
What did you say?
Discussion from the board.
Oh.
Discussion from the board?
Peg,
Why go up here, Peg, so I don't really hear you?
they can hear me. Mask on, don't keep the mask on, take it off. Okay, one of the questions that I had is, I know the survey was sent to everybody, and obviously, we only had 71% return rate is a good rate. But if you look at the percentages, you look at 88%, and I have to say that I looked at that first and went, oh, wow, 88% of all the parents want their kids back in school, which is not true. It's 88% of 71%. So I'm just pointing that out that, yes, I decided I'm not going to, I don't have kids, but, that I'm not going to return the survey, so I'm not counted, but anyway, to me, that was just kind of a very misleading percentage. Comment. Here comes Jan.
You're in trouble. In trouble.
No, she's not in trouble at all.
I just wanted to note, but of that 88%, there were 48 comments that objected to being forced to choose that. So even though they chose that, they said, you're forcing me in a corner, I'm only choosing this because I didn't have a choice, here's my still concerns, I prefer hybrid. So of those 88%, there were still some who really didn't want to do it but felt forced to do it.
Okay, thank you, Jan.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify again that the reason we didn't ask about hybrid is we actually already have the numbers for who would choose between remote and hybrid, because that's what we're doing. We did a survey already of who would choose remote or in person. The reason the survey was worded the way that it was is because it's the only question we don't already have an answer to. And again, it's just data, it's numbers, because it was brought up at the meeting that we also lose revenue, because one of the reasons we couldn't vote on the fully back plan was because we couldn't afford it, and it was brought up that we lose revenue when people don't come back. That was the point of the survey. It wasn't necessarily a preference survey so we can make a decision about what the school wants. It was numbers, because so that we can look at 3 plans. It's called concurrent planning. So I just want to clarify that one more time. That was the point of the survey. That's why it was worded that way. And we do already have information about who would come back if we had a remote option, which is the preferred model.
Anybody besides the board?
I just have one quick thing. So, I can talk loud, Doug. So the only thing about this is I was in and out last week. Sorry I didn't hear the whole thing. Now we have 3 different models. It's hard with this one because it's, okay, do you want to go full-time or do you need to find your own education? Is basically what a lot of parents took it as. I understand why some parents felt they were pushed into a corner by that. So as far as the weight that this carries, it may not be as much as the other surveys we've done. I just want to put that out there as far as, okay, well, do you want to go full-time or do you want to go hybrid? Or do you want to go full-time or you find your own education? Obviously, the parents are like, well, shit, I have to work. I guess you're going to go to school. So I just wanted to put that part out there. Hopefully, when we get all 3 things together, we can have a really good number as far as everything that happens. So seeing this now when I didn't have the information, kind of a grain of salt thing for me, personally.
I know we have a lot of disagreement, but we all need to work together. Okay? We're in this boat together. Anybody else?
Good? Well, that's not good. What do we got? School nurse. Must be something in the basketball game.
So I guess, is anybody gonna have any kids at the game? Do you wanna run out? I don't know what game's playing. So we all done with A? Can I move on? This is your meeting, people.
Can I make one more comment, Doug?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I understand, obviously, we all want what's best for everybody. I've talked to Emily, I've talked to Peg, I've talked to Doug, I have 4 that are in hybrid right now, ranging from grade 7 up through senior year. Some do really good, some do not do well. Some are done their work by 9 in the morning, some are 3 days behind and can't get it. They like to be in school. If it's one of these things, you know, we should ask the kids too. What's every kid gonna say? Remote, yay, because they're done at 2 o'clock and they're outside playing or on video games. Some are, some aren't. My senior, I think he's still back, no offense, Matthew, I think he's still back in October when it comes to school. But anyway, I digress. It's hard to get everybody what they want with this. And if we had triple the staff, hey, let's do all 3, you know what I mean? So just keep in mind, we're gonna try to do the best we can with what we have. These additional grants are gonna help us get more students, more faculty, more staff, to try to accommodate more of these things that people are like, you know what, I'm not coming back until I get the shot. Okay, well, let's see if we can accommodate you while running a class, you know? So we just have to try to do what we can with what we have right now. Parental surveys are all good, but it's a 50-50 split by the looks of it, just depending on who you talk to on what day. So we are really trying. I know we get up here and we get heated about things and we argue, but you know, it all comes down for what's best for the kids and for the staff and for the parents, you know, so we can all work together on this. If there's parents that have to work full time, I feel for you. You know, luckily my wife, you know, she works full time, but she's, you know, she's at home doing her work, plus getting interrupted by the kids, plus, you know, so her work doesn't get done. So, you know, it's a really hard dynamic and we got thrown right into it. So, you know, for the first year of it, I think we haven't done too bad. There are some struggles and there's a lot of growing pains. So, you know, kudos to the staff and faculty and what we can do. Thank you.
Okay, does that mean we're all done with B2, review of the new?
I have something real fast.
Well, I have to get up there.
I was debating to talk or not, because
Oh, I'm sorry, I wanted to respond
I'm
to that.
sorry, who
My
are
son-
you?
Oh, I'm Melissa, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Powers. So my son actually said, I won't say the grade, I don't want to offend anyone. He said, I'd rather go to school, and I said, what if you can't go to school? He goes, then I'd rather die than do remote. The other day, he was forced to write, and I've already talked to Mr. Sabina about it, and I talked to Bob Clark because he does have an IEP. He was forced to write this note saying, I won't put my head in my lap, because he was so frustrated with the class, because he was told if it's not done, he'll have to do it on his remote day, which they know he struggles with. I didn't sign this. I'm not going to sign it. I don't think it's right. It's to hear my almost 8-year-old say, I'd rather die than do remote work. I'd rather be where I can get help. We have a 9-month-old baby who I stated last time almost chopped his finger off as I was trying to teach long division and sit side by side with my son who has the IEP. I also talked to Mr. Safina and Bob Claw because since January of 2020, I don't even know who's teaching his OT. We've had 3 different OT teachers. They've either gone on maternity leave and not come back, or they've gone to teach preschool. This is a kid who, a lot of the people here know him and will agree, he's very shy. He doesn't open up well to people. He's been diagnosed with sensory processing, and he's in ADHD, severe form. He's unmedicated because we chose to unmedicate him. If we continue down this path, we have to medicate him, especially where he made the comment that he made to me yesterday when he brought this note home, and he was crying and shaking like this when he got off the bus. I even had the bus driver say to me, to his older brother, is your brother okay? And he said, no, I was afraid I was going to be in trouble because I had a note, because all he did was put his head in his lap to take a break. He's supposed to be getting movement breaks, and I was told by him he doesn't get movement breaks because he doesn't have anybody to do these breaks with him. Because right now, from what I understand, Mr. Claw has taken over, but he didn't. I asked him if he had services today, and he said, no, I only saw him by the bathroom. Mr. Claw had told me that he would be taking him out of class every Wednesday. That did not happen today. So I'm just kind of like wondering what's going on. You know, like, I don't know. It just makes me nervous that when he made that comment to me over this letter. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to pass it around and look at it. I was debating on bringing it because I know it's not really appropriate, but I just want to show, because I hear you guys. I'm not downing the school. We love the school. I used to come in every day and help out until we had another baby at home. I'm just saying I don't think this was appropriate. And then the comment that he made stems from this. It was just because you said a lot of kids would say, I'd rather stay home, but not my 2.
I have 50-50 right now. I have 2 that would stay, 2 that would stay at home, and 2 that they want nothing more than to go
Yeah,
back.
no, I know.
So I live, and the parents are the worst off in this whole thing. They are the ones that get the brunt of the hardness, because they got to balance work, they got to balance kids, they got to balance school, they got to balance in school, out school. The parents are the hardest hit, I know, so I feel for all of you, obviously, we're in the same boat, so.
Because he doesn't feel like he gets the help at home. And a lot of times when they do have the remote, he has to mute himself because he's sensory processing, he can't take it. And all I hear in the other room, I'll be feeding the baby, and it's, unmute yourself, unmute yourself, unmute yourself, and I'm like, oh my God, he's got sensory processing. He does better in the classroom than he does over with everybody talking and dogs barking in the background.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Anybody else? No, can I move on?
Okay, Doug, the next thing we have is the MES reopening plan. John Safina, it'll be John and Bob and Rob Qua, and we have Tim Ford as well from the buses.
Okay, so what you have before you is the MES full-in instructional model. So I'll start, I've broken it down into 2 sections, pre-K through 2, and then grades 3 through 5. So starting with kindergarten, the current enrollment is 32 students, 24 hybrid students, and 8 remote students. With full instruction, we would have 12 students per class and 2 adults per class. Currently, one classroom teacher is teaching remotely. Kindergarten classrooms are large enough to keep social distancing and safety protocols in place. So remote and homeschool student support were provided by kindergarten teachers. All kindergarten students would have the option of being dismissed at 1:15 as they presently do, Monday through Thursday. And then school transportation not provided during those days. And then on Friday, dismissal is at 1:15, pre-K through 5. So the difference here, I mean, this was, we have the staff for that, we have the spacing for that. So what we're looking at is grade 1 and 2. We have Becky Noble is a new staff member, was a new staff member as of December. She's been with us for a while now. So in discussion with the staff, we've been able to move some things around for 1 and 2. I have 2 classroom teachers. Now, we have 3 classroom teachers per grade level for 1 and 2. So we have 1 remote teacher presently for Becky. Becky is for 1st grade, and Melissa Salinger is for 2nd grade. What Melissa Salinger will do, who will be working completely remote, she will take on the instruction for grades 1 and 2. This way, Becky Noble can come back in and have another classroom. So we would have 3 1st grade classrooms. That was part of the problem why we couldn't have, we were concerned about the 1st and 2nd grade being so large. But with Becky being able to come back in, we will have, have about 12 to 13 students per class, which is manageable. We originally set up the classrooms for not more than 12 students, but we were done in the fall. So there's still the problem where we have Melissa Salinger teaching 2 grades. She would teach that remotely. However, with Kate, we have a new, we did hire 2 long-term subs that are daily subs. So we have an empty classroom because Melissa Salinger will teach remotely. So Caitlin who is one of our long-term subs, can become what's called a satellite classroom. That's something that's different in this plan from the last plan, which is a satellite classroom, which would ease the number of students in the class. Now, the instructor, their teacher would still be either Miss Grant or Mrs. Brown. However, some students, they may be together at some time, but they would have a space, an additional classroom to go to. So we are able to spread out the 2nd grade students. Masking breaks would be coordinated. They could do that in the classrooms and so forth. Now, Unified Arts would be added because we're bringing in students full time and they're not every other day. We would need to offer additional Unified Arts for these students. So, Mrs. Davey, there's only 1 4th grade remote student, so she could still work with that student with support from Mrs. Dorsey and Ms. Baker, but she would have to start teaching full-time classes for grades K, 1, and 2. Mrs. Donas also would be picking up character ed. That schedule is on the next page that has the breakdown. You see you got the character ed and art. We need that because we don't want to give the kids gym every day or technology. We want to break it up for them. So we do need to provide a prep period for the teachers every day. So that's why Mrs. Day would be able to come in and actually teach the classes and work with the remote student. So the definition of the satellite classroom is at the top of page 8. And staffing. Presently, we have 2 staff members out on leave until early March. This model is dependent on the return of those staff members, which most likely they are going to be returning. So in addition, we have an opening for a case manager to cover a leave. Mr. Quad has been filling in for that position. So that is K1 and 2. If you see there's the schedule as an example, then on page 9, I have the K1 and 2, what the breakdown of the classes would be. Now you see grade 2 has 17 in each class, which is kind of large. That's why we would have the satellite teacher take over and move into another room so we could bring those numbers down to 12 on it at any given time. So transportation. The way the transportation would run is for MES, we would have the purple day. Well, you know what, I'm gonna come back, let me come back to transportation. I don't wanna reveal everything at once. I'll come back to transportation, because I really wanna talk about, the setup in grades 3 to 5, and then I'll come back to that. So classroom setup for K to 2. This was the same thing that I had in the plan the last time, that showed that we could have 2 to 3 feet distancing. We would have, tables put in, we did buy the additional tables, we did buy the additional screening. So to add the, even though we're set up for 12, we like to keep it only 3 to a table. This gives the teacher the opportunity, or a para, to be able to go and sit and have a space empty for them to be able to go and work with the students. So we would have that additional table in there. So what this is, at the bottom of page 11, what I'm saying is that this model is a full-in model that can be implemented on March 22nd, the start of the 3rd trimester. This can be implemented with the return of staff on leave, and if there is no increase in community spread, because that's always what we need to be looking at, and we have to follow the guidelines, whether they're saying we need to be remote and so forth. So one of our daily subs will be assigned to the satellite teacher. This reduces our available substitutes to 1, which is to 30. So before I go on to 3 to 5, kind of reveal what I'm saying here is that this is more of a 2-part plan. 2-part, if we bring in K to 2, the transportation, which is back on page 9, we would have a bus run, purple and gold days. We'd have 1 bus for Bruins, Celtics, Patriots, and Red Sox. So what they would do is, for example, on a purple day, the Bruins and Celtics would go around and pick up all purple covert students in grades 3 to 5, and all students K to 2. So if you see, that's where the bus numbers come into play. There would be Patriots and Red Sox, so they would just be picking up K to 2, and it's reversed on the next day. So what I've gotten there, those numbers are pretty high for some of them. We have 31 on Patriots on gold days and 39 students on Celtics. What I've done is I have counted, basically counted every student we are required to provide transportation to. Many people take, bring riders, they bring their students in. However, I didn't want to do another survey right now, so I didn't ask specifically. I just wanted to let Tim know this is how many kids we are responsible for transporting, because things change. We even had changes today where people were riders and needed to change to bus students. So we have to be prepared for that. So that's why I have the full numbers. So these aren't exact numbers. These are the numbers of kids we're responsible for. So going on to 3 to 5. 3 to 5 has a little bit more restrictions, not only from a school administrator standpoint, from my standpoint, and the management, but also custodial, and we're concerned about that with the custodial for the K to 2, but it's a less of an impact. But I'll let Bob talk to that. So grades 3 to 5, we're still looking at the fact that we don't have as much staffing in K to 2 that we do in grades 3 through 5. We are looking at 22 to 24 students and staff in a classroom. So we are still very concerned about that. But the last time we were looking at, we had a barrier of money and staff. The money came, so now we're looking at a barrier of hiring staff. So the staffing needs are down at the bottom. So this plan is basically the same as the last time. We would be able to create satellite classrooms. That's the one thing that's different, is that if we got Title I teacher and maybe another person in, we would be able to we have an empty classroom on the 3rd floor of the 1914 wing. And the reason that it's empty is because we have 2 case managers that are remote, and we haven't hired a Title I teacher, and they're usually their home base. So if we get a Title I teacher or an additional teacher, we would be able to bring them in. We also concerned, once we bring in grades 3, 4, and 5, we have to go to a full unified art schedule. That's a contractual obligation. We have to have a full schedule to provide preps for teachers and so forth. So that's why we really would like to have a remote teacher and additional staff. There are special ed concerns. I'll have Bob speak to that. So in the K-2 plan, we may not need to set up that much more for tables in the cafeteria. If we need to, we can eat in the classrooms for K-2. There are no rugs in there, like carpeting, wall to wall. Grades 3 to 5 have carpeting in the rooms, so there is a real restriction of if you're eating with food in the room. There's additional cleaning that needs to be done on a daily basis, but if there's a question about that, Bob can speak to that. But once we come in 3 to 5, we would have to set up a full cafeteria. The space would be limited for Mr. Sharrow to use for the gymnasium. However, with springtime implementation, makes it a little more viable. He can take the students outside. He can do some in-classroom activities. And we do have the field once that happens. So I think it's easier to take rather than the dead of winter when we couldn't even go outside for recess if it's too cold. Here's a draft of the schedule. And then there's a staffing update, which is kind of what we're looking at that, as far as the needs, whether it's bus driver, custodians, and so forth. So 3, 4, and 5, those are our classroom numbers. And that's if everyone stays the same. If every remote student stays remote. If they all come in, we will need another satellite area for some of these classrooms, because we really are concerned about having 20 or more students in a classroom. So that is a big concern. Grade 3, with 15, 16, it could be kind of large, but I think that we can space them enough for 3rd grade. Because we set up, our plan for hybrid was set up for a maximum of 12 students in the classroom. So adding more tables, spreading them out, 15, we can do 15. But like I said, we do need the additional staff for IEPs and so forth. I still have, this is the same spacing for the classroom space. We have tables, we have shielding, we can do the distancing, and we can look at what we're looking at, for masking. Depending how large the classroom is, they might have to organize something else for a classroom break. So the good news is, we have something we can do. We have the staffing for K-2, and I think it's important to bring in the early, learners, our young learners. I think the elementary education, the early childhood learning, will reinforce that and help them for grades 3 through 5. Yes, any questions?
John?
Yeah.
John, can I, one of the major things as we're going through here, and is if you recall, Paul succinctly said this when we had looked at the thing when we first talked about this, not first, but during the time we talked about this, and we talked about hybrid until April 9th. But the three main areas were the funding, which that, as we have said before, through the 498,000 takes care of that. Now, the next part is you look at the report that the administrative team delved into, and this goes for district-wide K-12. It goes for Bob looking for custodial help. It looks at Tim looking for transportation. If you look at page 22, 23, if you look at page 23, the administration has worked through some of these areas, whether they be online or in newspapers or just a myriad of trying to be as creative. We have looked at and talked about this, but we never had the funding. As you could see, the board has never approved some of these things, and we didn't have the funding for it. Like one ad, when we looked at the deliberative or whatever, when Kathy Vigu put it in, it was $200 for one ad. So subsequent, if this is an extreme need, and within the grant, I spoke with Jen and Nate, and we did embed hiring of staff, and obviously the job search and hiring of staff is you've got to attract staff or find staff. So in this, you look at School Spring, and you know, I think it's worth it that, you know, we're trying not to be here, but we want to be succinct. And I think that all of you are aware and have been trying to assist. Parents have tried to assist. I've talked to parents, I've talked to community, I've talked with, you know, the staff. We talk on, you know, as part of the admin team, we meet all week and we have staff involved with that too. But let's look for a second at page 23, and John and Jan and Bob can all add in on there. Rob Quad, do you want to talk about School Spring? That's the way we got you, I think.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Everybody hear me?
Wait a minute, hold it up, please. I think we had a lady, that a young lady that had a question.
Oh, I was just asking, so would 3 through 5 be hybrid still, or would they be remote?
They would still be hybrid.
Okay.
Any more questions for John?
No, okay, thank you. We haven't, we're not done by any stretch, but I'm speaking to part of it in what are the contingents is, as you can see here, is staffing. And Rob Quad, would you talk about School Spring?
Sure, I don't know a ton about it. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know a ton about it, but I do know that I was able to find a couple different opportunities from afar via School Spring. It you know, it pops up in searches pretty easily. It was easy to navigate and find opportunities. When I was looking for jobs up here, when I was relocating from Northern Virginia, so you know, if there happens to be other folks with similar plans, far-flung and not, you know, kind of within our local community, I think School Spring's a good option to try to find them.
And if the board could look at these, take a look at page 23. Bob, would you talk to Adams? I think Melissa Brown had raised on the community partners. Bob did look into that. He could speak to that, and also he'll speak to Snag a Job. Because what we're looking at, as you can see from what in all of these reports, and then as Jan talks about the transition from Model 2, the hybrid, into the full opening, a critical piece of it is staffing. And what we're looking for is affirmation, approval from the board to go ahead with all of these here. Some of these are kind of unique, and actually, I don't want to jump ahead to staff referral. I got to check and make sure we can legally do that one. Firms do that, as you all know, those that have been involved with different areas and working areas. But Bob, why don't you talk to Snag a Job and that right now, okay? Bob?
Okay. Yeah, this week I had contacted community partners. One of the groups is located in Rochester, and they do have a vocational department. And we're going to work through a process to see if we might have a candidate that's with them that might need some training as a custodian. So that's certainly an opportunity. New Hampshire OJT, the third one up from the bottom. I've worked with them over several years. Probably I think 6 years ago, I was able to come up with a candidate from them that we did train, and we actually got reimbursed for some of the salary out of it, which is pretty good if that happens. So it would have been September, probably late fall, early winter, and then recently the contact that I have there, I forwarded all of the job openings that Kathy Vigu posts for us, and then they post that internally. I haven't gotten any hits on that, and I don't believe that anyone else on the administrative team, but you never know. It's good for somebody that's looking for a different career, basically, is what they help with, or somebody that has been unemployed for whatever be the reason for some long period of time and needs help being reemployed. So if we keep that warm, there might be some opportunity that will come out of that. Just leapfrogging on one thing that Rob had said on School Spring. I had not heard of them before, but I did do a query there, and there are a few New Hampshire locations that do advertise for a custodian as well, using that website. Thank you then.
Thank you. There's a couple of unique ones. Also, too, within each of the departments, I checked with all of the school superintendents statewide. Rob Qua talked with the SPED folks statewide. And Rob, do you want to talk to the Seacoast Online? You picked up the Seacoast Online?
I believe that's Foster's.
Yeah.
That's Foster's, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm a subscriber.
Yeah, okay. So also, too, as we go on, Rob has an agency that we'd like to get approval for from the board, but that's the next part that we're going to talk about. We're going to get to that. One of the interesting ones is the staff referral incentive. John, want to speak to that? You were the one that brought that one in, John Safina.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this is this is just I realize that we're getting a lot of referrals. Some of the hires that we got, Kaylin Eastman was a referral from one of our paras. Danielle, of course, was a referral from the town. We also we almost had a Title I person, but we interviewed the Title I person for Title I, but they were so middle school. They were like, I couldn't take her. So I passed on to Jan, and Jan hired her. But that was a reference from Mrs. Noble. So staff referrals are really good, and I think this is a good incentive to get people to actually do this. And these are programs that are set up with businesses that are looking, for staffing. And there's either sign-on bonus or referral bonus. It's kind of the same thing.
So can I just clarify my answer?
Can I have 1 minute? I wanted to clarify my answer to Mrs. Towers and to everybody. I'm sorry, am I too loud? I'm Italian, I'm sorry, I'm gonna back up. So when I said you have to 3 to 5 would be still hybrid. We're all dependent on staffing. What I'm saying is the staffing looks good in March. We're still strained because Mr. Qua is doing the services, which is a strain. It's still a strain. But we think we should be able to implement that. 3 to 5, if we have the staffing, we could do 3 to 5. This plan is a plan to bring everybody back, but it's dependent on staffing. We believe we have the staffing for K to 2. So it can be K to 2 in March, if everything, staffing and everything stays the same, and 3 to 5 hybrid, or if we get the staffing, K to 5, or we can just say, no, we're gonna wait, it's up to the board, we wanna wait until we're in full K to 5. So there's 3 different options. So I just want to clarify that. This is a plan for everybody to come back. Okay?
Do we have the approval of the board to go ahead with all of the ones that the administration chooses to go along with on the ones we showed you on the page? To go ahead with those? Is there anything there that somebody on the board wants to ask us more about on
Are you just asking questions?
on that page?
Just asking if we have questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to what she has to say.
Yeah, go ahead. Wait a minute, Earl.
Amy Johnson. So my question with staffing is, and I had emailed Earl, but I don't think my question was like consistent with what I was trying to get a point across. Is it beneficial to reach out to the community right now with what your requirements and expectations are as a job as a paraprofessional? When I started in a private school 11 years ago, that's a sad thing, I only had a high school diploma. I started out and they trained me, and the way I always looked at it was, you're just there to be that resource for that individual child and help them, which is basically what a lot of us parents are doing right now at home. So would it be beneficial to be reaching out into the community right now, asking and saying, hey, not for nothing, but this is the requirement to be a paraprofessional, and come in and be a direct support staff for one of our students, and we could fill our position to get back full-time and have our staffing problem taken over. You've got so many parents that are home, can't work, would love to go back to work and do something, and they might actually be able to come work for you full-time while their kids are at school. Just a thought, maybe reaching out. Even Title I, like writing all these into the community. There's a lot of people that don't understand. They think they have to go to like 4 years of school to be a paraprofessional, and you don't have to be. Someone might be at home right now that has the skills and could be coming in. Maybe they might can only be able to come in 3 days a week, but it would be better to start off right now to have staff and maybe get the ball rolling with it being advertised the way it is. Because for me, when I looked it up the other day, just for shits and giggles, I couldn't find anything other than the SAU office and on New Hampshire Easy Jobs. So unless somebody knew to go specifically to these sites to go look for a paraprofessional job, they wouldn't know that you're hiring. So somebody here in the community that doesn't even have a kid might need a job and be like, hey, I could come do this right now. I could come help them and go back to work. So it's just a thought for advertising for staff. So you're not having to pay fines for anything.
Actually, that's exactly what we did in San Diego during the fires. And we had a lot of people get involved that way and help us through a rough period. I think that'd be an excellent idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
Doug? Okay, I'm sorry. I was gonna respond to what you said.
Just to clarify, Amy, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So you think that it would be helpful if we just let sort of the community at large know this is what we need and these are the job requirements. Just so like
a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I used to go to school for that. I wish I got it. You don't.
Right, and so it, you know,
if somebody's like,
so
oh,
you mean
no,
like I mean, I don't know what rules are or whatever, but like on Facebook or in the purple pages or in the new, like this, just so you know, this is what we're looking for. And okay.
And it might not be a parent or someone. Someone might be like, oh, wow, my friend that lives one town over needs a job and could actually probably do this.
Right. Okay.
Which, yeah.
I also just had one quick question.
Go ahead, finish it.
For John. I think I might be missing something. That plan is excellent. Thank you so much. The only thing I don't quite understand is why we have to wait till March 22nd for K-2. What am I missing?
That
Well, staff doesn't come back until the beginning of March. The two staff members that are on leave, they will be back in March, beginning of March. And we also need to, once we do have a plan, if it's voted on that we do this, then we have to redo class lists, which I should point out that we might have to change some classes around. So for the first grade, someone would get Ms. Noble. So we have to redo class lists, send out class lists to the staff and so forth. And with vacation coming up, we have 1 week, we come back, the staff will be back on the 11th. So around there. So at that point, it's right at the end of the trimester, gives the staff time to prepare. The kids will end all their units and everything, and we start right on March 22nd. The end of the trimester is 19th.
Okay. So just to clarify, when we do vote, I'm assuming, just so we're all on the same page, what we're voting for is provided that it all stays intact. You have all the same staff that K to 2 would go back March 22nd and 3 to 5 would go back when we're if we're able to by March 22nd, hire all those people. And if not, whenever after that date, we are able to hire all those people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That makes sense to everyone?
Depending how you want to vote, I'm not saying this is.
Right, but that's what we would motion for.
But I do want to say that it has always been our intention to come back in full. As a matter of fact, this K to 2 plan that I'm talking about, Earl and I have been talking about it since November, that there's a possibility we could start phasing kids in with the number of staff. So this is our intent, is to get them back in. We're still looking at staffing. We do want to look at the spread. We have to look at the spread. We have to keep that in mind as well. So yes, I mean, that's what we are working. This plan will work if we have the staff, and as long as the infection rates don't go up higher.
So board-wide, what we're looking at tonight is the go-ahead to start the hiring. Is that, and the go-ahead on that plan? Is that?
We already, well, the hiring.
I know Earl had mentioned it. I didn't know if we had to actually like vote on it.
What he's asking is if we could expend the funds through grant money to do all these, to recruit more people, and also he's gonna check on the fact whether we could do this referral bonus with attorney and so forth. And then, but we've been posting them, so we don't need to vote to hire the staff. We've already have them posted, we're just trying to reach out more.
Okay.
Okay, Heard and Lynette.
Okay, Amy, just to answer your question, I think it's a great idea, and I know that I had spoken at one point where the parents could come in when we were hybrid, well, we had to fill our hybrid. But if my child was in on Mondays and Wednesdays, I could come in and teach or help out on Mondays and Wednesdays, and we had absolutely no takers. But one of the things, and I'm not sure, maybe, and John, maybe you can answer this, but I know that there are certain qualifications that are necessary for a para. I mean, I don't know if you can get somebody to come in and substitute, help out, you know, whatever you want to call it, but I mean, to actually be hired as a para. You don't have to go to a 4-year college, but there are qualifications. Do I need to say more than that, John? I mean, I just wanted to, just so that people don't get the idea that you can just kind of walk in and get a job at the paraprofessional wages?
Well, no, if you're a substitute, that's different. We're Title I school-wide school. So there is a qualification that you need to be Para 2 certified. Para 1 is a high school diploma, but because of Title II, you should have a Para 2, which is associate's coursework equivalent to an associate, or take the para practice test and pass that, which the basis behind the test is anybody who's gone through and has an associate's degree should be able to pass. So that's why the test is there as well.
But I think a lot of people don't know that information, so that's something that's
Well, we do
out
have,
there.
people
Might know that.
Yes. We have job descriptions. We could put those online. We do have those. Those are part of the board. I think I'm not sure if they're online, but we can do that. Yep.
I thought that was a great idea. The other thing, and I guess maybe I need to ask, sorry, I guess my teacher voice is not coming through. I mean, I think the plan that was presented tonight for elementary is really, really good. But I guess my question is, we had voted on not even looking at going beyond the hybrid until, I'm gonna say April 9th, was that the date? Yes, Jan, was that the date?
Yes, it
Okay.
was the date, yes.
And, I mean, I don't know how we unvote, but I just want to put that out there, that that was the vote, and I'll just sit down.
Just a quick thing, I think we voted April 9th to stay hybrid until April, barring any changes in the COVID numbers,
Right.
the amount of infections, whether they're up, down, all that, but it was to be renegotiated as we went on, meeting to meeting to meeting, we could reach it, we could change that number.
So my question mainly to Earl is, we have all this money coming in that we need to go to offer both models. Providing we can find the staff, does that mean that Newt can go return as well if we have the staff?
Jan could speak to that. She's working. We have been working on it, as John said, right along, and Jan plans to report to the board on March 10th on how they are. But I'll let Jan speak to that.
Yes, I'd asked about plans, so I could definitely have a plan for the March 10th meeting, and just be back in for Newt. Okay.
Larry?
Don't forget Lynette.
I asked, will you come up here, Lynette, please?
He's hurt. Oh, my gosh. Lynette McDougal. I like your idea. That's one thing, like I said, they had to take tests. That's the other thing. They had to take tests, background checks, all those types of things in order to get involved. And I think you're right. I don't think that many people know that that type of position exists. And it would really help in a interim or anything else, you know. The only thing I'm worried about are students that are IP, special ed, things like that. What are we doing for them?
That's a Bob question.
Well, FAR is next at 50 and 51.
Larry?
In terms of hiring, the criminal background check should not be seen as personal suspicion, but just for the protection and safety of the children. And the question will be, how will the prospective employee deal with those costs?
Anything else? Well, I want to say before I get interrupted by Earl, I strongly believe that our employees in our schools need to be vaccinated. I really do. I think one death, even a student or a staff member, I find unacceptable to me.
Can we have Rob Quat? I think Lynette asked in the next, as we go, we kind of have a few balls in the air now. I just want a little bit more clarification before Rob goes. I think back there, I think Amy, I think she brought up a point, Amy, and I did speak with Jen and I spoke with Nate. And there is a way where people can sub and it wouldn't go under the mantra of the one school. And we need to clarify what it is that a person would need to sub. Jen, did you want to explain that they can sub and the way you and Jan have used the sub? And we're looking at the subs now, you know, we're looking at the CARES Act and the funds for the next 4 months. And when we're looking at the subs, as we did say, as Peg Heard said, and we picked at least one parent up, it is not necessarily 5 days a week. As we're in the hybrid, they could sub on those days that the students are in school. So I don't know if Amy, if I clarified that, because I knew what you were inferring, that A, how are we going out getting staff, and B, we probably would get more staff, we would get more parents, as we did point out, if they knew that they could. So I hope I hope I did respond to that. And so therefore now we could go with Rob Qua, and I think Lynette had some things, and we did have Rob Qua next because we did embed him within the report for MES, and once he gets done with that, he can go on to C or 3 within this. Rob?
Yeah. So yeah, I was crunching the numbers as we were discussing the plan, and you have them all right there. We've done a nice job with preschool and with the partner program being pretty much fully open this whole time, which is great, and I think that's a real victory for our district. For going K through 2, if we shuffle people around and don't get anybody back and don't hire anybody, we can stay in compliance as far as IEP requirements, which is great. I'm very excited about that. I'll be providing the special education services for a little while in tandem with Miss Sherry Hodge, who will help me out because she's still left in the building, thank heavens. Melissa, I'm sorry I had a previously scheduled training all day today, but I do look forward to getting back together with Jameson to make sure I can catch him up on his first available Friday, which is my plan. But yeah, as far as services for those K through 2 students and paraprofessional support, we will be able, if we reopen without any changes to the positive happening, we would still be able to meet all of those requirements as far as IEPs, which is great. If we did open from 3 to 5 without anything good changing in our favor, however, we would not be able to do the same thing. We would need people to come back, or we would need people to be hired in order to meet all the para requirements for all the students and all those grades. So if we did come back fully in the elementary school, we would end up being out of compliance, subject to lawsuits, subject to DOE complaint processes, due process stuff, all that good stuff. So, or all that really bad stuff, actually. So that would be not my hope. We definitely want to continue to meet the bare minimum. Our IEP requirements is really the floor level of what we're trying to do. We're really, I think through the hybrid model, even though everything hasn't been ideal, I've been really satisfied with the efforts of our staff to do more than just the minimum IEP requirements to try to meet students and support them in their areas of need, whatever those happen to be. But regarding the plan, that is the special ed aspect of it. K through 2 we could absolutely do, and I'm really excited about it. And then what was the other thing you asked me to talk about there, Earl?
I think if the board is ready, when they are ready, you're going to go on to how you're going to try to look for staff through that agency.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can get into that. So I getting desperate for people, I started answering junk mails. And there's an agency called Solient that's apparently based out of Georgia that actually might at least have paraprofessionals that we could contract. We contract with other agencies already to provide related service providers. So speech, OT, behavior consultants, things like that. So the practice wouldn't be new. It would just be kind of a new vendor for that. And in some initial discussions, it looked like they would be able to kind of fit our budget as far as the overall cost of a paraprofessional coming from them versus an overall cost paraprofessional that would be hired directly through the district.
We don't need to make a motion to that, do we? I don't know.
Is he talking about all of it?
Is that something we need to make a motion to give him the authority to do, or is it okay just to do it?
Boy, would I like to just do it, but I mean, we're here.
Huh. I just didn't know if it was required. I don't know who does know that.
Didn't you
Is it required that we make a motion for that?
Didn't you previously say that they could go ahead and do what they needed to get people? A motion like that?
Yes.
Well,
Or am I
this is-
incorrect?
Well, they did, but this is something we've never done before. We're paying an agency, and had we not gotten these funds, Rob and I talked about it, and now with these funds, it allows us to do these things, which we've never done before, from the outside in there, outside the box, so to speak. So I guess Paul is right.
So they
We
would
don't
need a motion.
necessarily need you to vote, but we don't want it to be a surprise to you as to what we're doing.
Right.
So if the board doesn't have any problem, tell them go for it.
Because you already made a motion, I would think that you would just be okay with it.
But I think we gave Earl the authority for a time of period to hire somebody, but I think that time of period is ran out without coming to the board. Anybody? Okay.
I don't know the timeframe, but I mean, if we have to authorize anybody to do what they need to do, so be it.
Well, I got a general consensus, so be it. Do it.
So has been.
Everybody okay?
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Thank you, because it's we're trying to get staff and we're trying to compete with every other school around us. Because the reason that these schools are having a hard time, whether they drive the bus or they have to teach or whatever the case is, the paras, you've got schools that on the face of it are supposed to be open, but yet you talk to a parent and a student hasn't been in a high school around us from October to now. They come back one day and they contact, and they're sent home again because they got to, so I think that if we can maximize the staffing, just like the board has endorsed us, we thank you for it. And you could see that from from the MES plan, and then Jan will give you her plan, that you're trying, schools can't do this alone. Parents are coming forth, community is trying to come forth, and we're all trying to be a team and help us get the staffing we need to bring the students back safe. Okay, thank you then. Thank you.
John?
So I have one more piece. I wasn't likely to share this. I just got this information today. Kirsten Gowdy has been working, she's doing a project, and we're looking for the good. And I think that this is very preliminary data, so I will share with you. I think it shows something. There's some positives. This is our NWA window. I don't have that name. I want to share. Our NWA data. We're in the middle of our testing.
Come to the mic, John, please.
We're in the middle of our test. Come to the mic. We're in the middle of our NWA winter testing, so it's not completed yet, so we don't have all the full reports, but she did do some data driving. Not all the kids have taken the test yet. So what this is this shows that red is that there's been a drop. Yellow it means that it's been kind of status quo, and green shows improvement, that there's been growth. Now, the idea of splitting the K-2, 3 to 5, you see that K-2, there's a lot of red. It is very much more difficult for kids, the every other day and so forth. We do understand that. But if you look 3 through 5, 3, 4, and 5,
there is, except for the math, there has been either consistent or growth. And they're all yellow and red, yellow and green. The red in math is part of the reason we have Dreambox, because we have a lot of remote students in grade 3. And I think that the Dreambox, that was a reaction to what we're seeing with our math scores. So even though we're hybrid, 3, 4, and 5 is either staying the same or showing growth. This is, like I said, this is preliminary. This isn't like definitive, but it is good growth. Yes.
So I guess this is another, obviously this is preliminary, but
Yes.
this is more reason to show that K through 2 could probably use to get back in school first.
Yes.
And once we get K through 2 working and then work on the next one, it's harder to do remote learning on K through 2.
Earl, I guess you're up.
Okay, so, I guess that the direction is there.
So do we need to make a motion to,
You know what, we are all, we is not, numbers, our letters C. And we went to
we just missed C.
Yeah, I know, but now we're going back to D now. I just wanna make sure that we've not.
We've done with
Well, I guess we have to do a vote
I
on
know,
D
but we need to do a
to
vote
see if
on
we are
D,
gonna go
D.
forward to get the ball rolling for K through 2.
So why don't we vote on B and then go to C?
It's up to you.
So it sounds like, if I can talk, it sounds like with all the information and all the data we have presented from Mr. Safina and Mr. Quar and stuff, we have the ability right now just to do K through 2, correct?
As long as the staffing stays the same, we don't lose more staff, and COVID is the same.
We're not talking about 3 through 5 right this second. We're talking about K through 2, making a motion on K through 2.
No, we are talking about 3 through 5, if they can make those hires.
If they can make those
If they
hires.
can make them.
But we can go ahead with K through 2 right now, if we can make the hires 3 through 5.
March 22nd, regardless.
All right, so I can make a motion then, right? To,
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
I'll make a motion that we go forward with the plan with the given evidence that K through 2 go back to full-time learning as of March 22nd. And if everything falls into place with paras and additional staffing, 3 through 5 can follow along with that. Make sense?
I'll second.
Oh, I was gonna say, I like, John said something about, no increase, I was getting the staffing, no increase, and that was for K through 2 also. Not losing any staff.
Right.
And that we have no big uptick in cases, blah, blah, blah. So I think that needs to be in the motion also,
Yeah, okay, barring changes in staff
and uptick in.
and uptick in
cases.
numbers, correct.
Right,
Yep.
and I will go along with that.
Yeah, and the guidelines of CDC, barring, so, yeah.
So is that good?
Any more discussion on the board side? Ready to vote?
Well, if you look at the CDC guidelines and New Hampshire's Department of Health that came out January 26th, they say that community transmissions are not a factor to play in returning to schools. It has nothing to do with the community transition.
What do you mean by that?
It means just because the community has an uptick in transmission does not necessarily affect what the school does, and does not coincide with each other. So we do not need to look at community transmissions according to the CDC and the Department of New Hampshire Health.
We all set?
But we have a nurse.
So I guess, based on what that said, that kind of flies in the face of the evidence of the fact that during the Thanksgiving holiday and during the Christmas holiday, numbers skyrocketed, and now they're finally coming down again. So community transmission, I think, is a valid part, but whether it's going to affect K through 2 someone asked, so what's gonna happen after February vacation? So if families all over the place, let's all go on ski trips all week and intermingle with other people and do that, what's gonna happen? We can't tell. Statistically, in the past, everybody gets together and things go up for 2 weeks and then they come back down again. So I don't know if we should include the CDC thing in that, but I mean, have the option to say, okay, if numbers are going out of control, then this faculty should be able to make a command decision and say, okay, numbers are all of a sudden skyrocketing, full-time's not gonna work right now, let's go remote. Just like we do when there's a case. I don't think it has to be part of the motion. I have faith in the people that are running the schools can make that based on the nurses and things like that, that, okay, we did it for a few, numbers are going up, let's take a break, let's go hybrid again.
Well, but we're looking at those are community, I mean, school,
Come on, Stu.
school, not in the community itself, but in school.
Right, but I don't know if that has to be part of the motion, as far as the CDC thing. I mean, the school, faculty can make the decision without it being a motion.
I'm Susan Wells from the elementary nurse, and I might be able to speak to a little bit of that. The state transition models that we have given you, Dawn and I, they do look at community transmission and the levels within the school. So the state has allowed, it's the school's discretion, if we can function safely, that we still can be within those models, but they still look at the community transmission. They still consider it. One of the things I wanted to add, just because things have not changed, the CDC recommends 6 feet of physical distancing, and New Hampshire Public Health recommends 3 to 6 feet whenever possible. Having less than 3 to 6 feet of physical distancing means that there will be increases for potential exposure, resulting in quarantine for staff and students. Although our other safety protocols, including masks and death shields, help slow the spread, the state only looks at 6 feet distancing when identifying close contact. So in bringing the students in, we may have to send more students and staff home. I'm not sure if Dawn is on, because she was gonna talk.
I am. Hi. So I just, I'm glad that Susan did say that that transition model, the way that they determine if it's best to do hybrid, remote, or full in is looking at community transmission as well as the school impact. So it is possible that if the school has low impact, which means adequate staffing, no low numbers, no clusters, things like that, even if transmission to the community is substantial, you can still possibly have full in. But like Susan said, it depends on the ability of the school to safely do that, having all things in place that are needed. So I just wanted to note that, local numbers have been improving, which is great. And we're hoping that it continues because we'd love to see all the kids get back to school. But it's just important to note that overall, the state and county transmission levels are still substantial. So it's just something that should be looked at. And they do say before making major changes, you should kind of monitor it for 2 to 4 weeks or things like that. So as long as these numbers keep going in this direction, lowering, and I'm sure if that were the case, it would probably change the overall transmission. But at this point, it's still substantial, even though the local numbers are better.
No, stay right there. I have a question. What I'm worried about, I'm thinking of the future. And the status of that new variant that's hits our country, they're saying it's doubling every day from the day before. Do we have any cases in New Hampshire yet?
No, we don't. Dawn and I were on the New Hampshire Public Health meeting today. They did say that they are watching it, they are expecting it, and they haven't given us any further guidelines on it. They did talk about the vaccines. They did say they are not 100%, that you will have some immunity, but you won't have all kinds, 100% immunity. So if people were to be symptomatic, even though they've received the vaccine, they still need to get tested.
I one more question, and then I'll go there. Does any of the surrounding New England states have any variant cases yet?
He didn't mention any other states.
Yeah, I think I heard Massachusetts.
Okay, yeah, they didn't mention any for New Hampshire, but he didn't go into the other states.
Yeah, no.
I need to let Al speak clear. Thank you, Rick.
Al Goodwin. Just a little frustrating sitting over there because we have a motion on the table to move forward. A lot of work was put into the plan, a lot of staff hours and development was put into the plan. We made a motion and now we're just throwing all these shackles on it. Can we stick to the motion and move forward with the plan with the time and then start talking about COVID again?
I'm gonna restate the motion.
I think everybody should be allowed to be heard totally. Because I've received complaints to me that I don't let people speak as chairman. Okay? And I took great offense to that. Go ahead.
I'll restate the motion that we push forward the plan presented to put K through 2 back into full-time learning as of March 22nd, barring no changes in staffing. The staff has the full ability to know when it's something, if the numbers are going too high, and they can, make a decision on that point. But as it is right now, March 22nd, go for K through 2 to go back full-time.
And I will second that motion.
You all set? You want to vote?
Let me understand.
Doug, could I?
Was that Emily with a second?
Hey, hey,
Okay, I couldn't hear. Thank you.
I have my
I got a
hand up.
question now.
Well,
Wait a
hold on,
minute,
I
got a
think
question.
Earl's asking a question.
Yes, John, hearing that motion, does that have parallel with the report you gave? I'm just asking to ensure that you feel that it reflects.
Staffing is, as I put in the report, COVID spread and so forth. If we end up, we're talking community spread, but if staff members start getting sick and they're not there, that's going to be an issue that will be spread in the school. There's so many different variants. It's hard to say. Definitely we're going to go, because things change on the outside. So as long as things stay consistent the way they are, it's good. It's good to go. And I just would like to just say 2 things before you finish the vote. As far as February vacation goes, I don't have a mic on. As far as February vacation goes, follow the travel guidelines. If you're traveling out of state, I'm going to put that in the purple page. I'm sure Jen will get that information out. If you travel, you need to self-quarantine. We're not looking at a full quarantine. So if you go out of state, in the states where you have to quarantine when you come back, we ask that you do that. And the other thing is I want to just thank the staff, everyone that's listening, and everyone's here. Thank you, Marianne, because I'm not forcing and dragging them. This is a plan that they worked with, they agreed to, because they want to do what's best for kids. So thank you to the entire MES staff and the new staff. We've all been working. This is a plan that we haven't done in isolation. So thank you.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is that would be like a admin decision about that they would say, okay, cases are too high, we're not going, rather than a board decision?
Yeah, because they're the ones that are in the trenches. They're the ones that deal with it every day, the board does it. So if the school says, okay, 2 more cases today, okay, 2 more cases today, they have the ability to say, okay.
Are you talking about community or in school?
If I'm talking about if the faculty feels that the teaching environment is becoming a problem because of more cases coming into the school, then they have the ability to say, okay, we're gonna go hybrid right now until the kid, just like it does, you know, when there's, with post-vacation, they had to stay out 2 weeks. If the teachers feel, or the faculty feels that it's not safe, they have the right to pull, you know, to pull the plug until it's safe again. As with anybody that does their job on a daily basis, when it becomes unsafe, you stop the job. And that should have nothing to do with school board whatsoever. We're not the ones teaching, they are. We could say right now, okay, we force everybody to go back.
Paul,
to
I'm just
school right
asking
now.
for clarification on what you meant.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that's out there for everybody, that they have full ability to say, okay, I don't feel safe doing this right now. We tried, we're doing well, or, uh-oh, it's getting worse. This is what we're going to do.
We all set? Starting with you, Peg.
With what was stated, I am going to say yes.
Paul?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
I know the ayes have it, but the board has been given a responsibility, and I think the board should be the one making the final decision. Okay, but I'll.
Did you vote it?
You can go with it.
So, I think we gave the faculty the full ability to make a command decision. If they get to March 15th and the cases are through the roof, it's not going to happen. And I have full faith that they can do that. We're going to treat it like professionals and adults and take all cases, everything into account before we just pull the trigger on this. And I don't think that us not being in the trenches can make a 100% verifiable decision just based on what we read in the paper and what we see on the community versus what's happening in the school. That's why I tried to really emphasize that point. You know, I have no and I don't take this the wrong way, I have no vested interest in K through 2 because I haven't had kids there for years, but we have to start somewhere. And I think that's the safest group to start with. And I think, I mean, 3 of the 5 kids in my house all have cars, they drive around, they see people, blah, blah, blah. K through 2, you go to school, you come home, you go to school, you come home. And I think they're in very capable hands as far as how decisions are made among that group.
What do we want to pick up?
C, Qua memo?
Mr. Qua.
Hey, Qua, you're on page 50.
Yeah, he didn't do about raises for the paras?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excellent.
It's okay.
I would love to talk about this.
You've been speaking in a non-microphone all night long. We get it. You're a little off today.
A little crazy, don't I?
So basically, we hire people as either group or 1-to-1 / 1-to-2 ratio paras, and there's a pay difference associated with being a positive pay difference associated with being a 1-to-1 to 1-to-2 para. This year especially, that really hasn't been true. Paraprofessionals have been doing all kinds of things, moving, from moment to moment, from being 1-to-1 support to support for a whole class to a substitute to delivering food. And so just kind of in the name of justice and equity, I thought that it would be good for us as, just part of ensuring that we can continue to have staffing at least where it is, for us to just increase all of the paras to that 1-to-1, 1-to-2 level.
So what are you asking us to do?
Give them raises from the grants. Our group paras, which is not all the paras. It's actually a small percentage that are still on the group para pay scale.
There's a very small amount of them actually, right?
Yep. That is correct.
We're gonna need a second and one motion, then we discuss it.
All right, I will make a motion to go along with this, changing the paras to a 1 on one, giving them an increase?
Through a grant,
What?
through the grant.
I'm sorry, you're right, through the grant?
I'll second.
Any now discussion?
Rob, I just have a quick question because one of the paragraphs just says, for the duration of this ongoing crisis, because I know when we changed them from 1-on-1 to 1-to-2, just meaning that they could take on 2 students rather than just 1. And the salary is different, obviously. But I guess I'm a little bit confused as to what you're actually asking for.
So it's to the end of the school year.
Well, it says the duration of this ongoing crisis, so if it continues. Right, that's the impact dollar-wise through the end of the year. But
I would
then it
ask
says-
that it was through the end of the year. I would actually ask that it was permanent, but through the end of the year, because, based on what's happening and because there's been so much flux as far as duty assignments.
Okay, would you like to have all right, so this is only from, say, today until the end of the year.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
How many people? 6? The only thing I want to say about this, we just turned down the janitors. I think we're gonna give anybody, any money out of the grant money, it should be for everybody across the board, not just a small group.
I already said you could come up.
I'm for that. Am I in everybody?
So it's that there's 3 staff members that are actually making less hourly than our long-term subs. So we're just asking that those 3 staff members are making equivalent to what we're now paying our long-term subs for the remainder of the year while we need these long-term subs, so that they can feel like they're adequately paid for the same job some of our long-term subs are doing. That's basically what he's asking.
Yeah, may I add, this is crisis mode. We're trying to get through, as was stated by some of the parents, and Rob has been saying, these people are not purely a one-on-one. From day to day, Rob is trying to get them to work with students, as parents have pointed out, and they're not clearly defined. So from day to day, from hour to hour, they're called upon to step up and fulfill these roles. So whatever we're doing is in order to achieve the goals that we've talked about. So it's only fair to them in lieu of what they're being asked to do. And as Jen said, in terms of being parallel with the subs, we're in a crisis mode and we have to do what we have to do to make things to help kids and to retain and get staff. So this is the things we're doing are for this time because of crisis mode.
Mr. Kwa, are paras that are not contracted as one-on-ones sometimes acting as one-on-ones because of shuffling staff around?
Yes, very often.
So it only seems right that if they're acting as a one-on-one, they should be paid as a one-on-one. I have not seen a single staff member or heard of a single staff member not stepping up to do these responsibilities. I myself did it for 12 years, and I can assure you there is a difference between being a group para and a one-on-one or a one-on-two. So if we're expecting our staff to shuffle around and do different jobs, I feel that it's appropriate to compensate them, especially if we have the money to do so, if they're performing that job especially.
All they have to do is move them on the pay scale, that's all they need to do.
Larry Brown, from a structural point of view, it would be useful to identify line items, from what function the money would be paid, to indicate that the raises would terminate with the termination of the grant, that they are imposed no obligation on the school district for future salary considerations. And the total dollar amount that would come out of it, that will give you the details, structure, function, and process.
Which that is on the document, and I just want to be clear. So here's the thing, this ongoing crisis at the end of the year, so I just want clarity. Till the end of the year, and it is coming from grant, that will cover the total amount from now until the end of the year.
And in the great civil service petition, duly noted.
So I did have a second, I did have a motion. Do we have any more discussion on the board? Yeah.
My question kind of goes along the pay raise. I used to work at the jail, and those individuals who had an inherent risk received an additional stipend called hazard duty pay. Is it possible to provide that to those individuals who may come into contact with bodily fluids or during this whole situation is considered hazardous to their health? Did they receive an increase of some sort?
Well, I think that would apply to a lot of people in the school, especially the janitors. They are on the front line. They're the ones that's doing the cleaning.
It wasn't very specific.
I know that. I know you mean that, but that's.
Yeah.
I agree. All right.
I think if you're gonna give it to one, you need to give it to all.
Okay, and, you know what, I totally agree. I mean, I don't want to take it away from this proposal, this whatever motion, because I think the power is due, but I have to totally agree with you with the custodians. And if we can do something for them out of the CARES Act, I think we should look at that too. So I'm just saying that I do agree with you.
I mean, everybody, not just.
Yep.
Too. Emily, got your hand up?
I guess I hear what you're saying about the custodians too, so but I'm wondering if we could, focus on passing this motion and then maybe look at,
Right.
and sort of promise to look at, is there a way to do some sort of hazard type pay or something to help the custodians, you know, at least temporarily? But we can't really discuss it now because we don't have any information really. So maybe at the next meeting we could discuss that, we could just stick to.
I think if you remember, we had it 2 weeks ago. We turned it down. For the janitors.
That was a raise though, not a CARES Act.
Same thing.
Correct?
Like, that was a permanent increase, so, which I still think we need to look at, but since this has come through under CARES Act, then I think at least at this point, maybe look at something for the custodians through the grant.
Can we move to vote this?
You know,
What'd you say?
Say, can we move to vote this
Yeah.
one about the terrace?
Okay, discussion is done. Okay?
Aye.
Aye?
No.
Aye.
So I think that is everything on the agenda. Do we have any old business?
So Doug, sorry.
Go ahead.
Do the warrant articles about that email that was sent about the so much per thousand, does that come up now or should we discuss that later? The way that something was worded got us messed up last time on the warrant articles, because they saw the 1451 per thousand and everybody lost their mind because they thought we were going up $15 per thousand, and they didn't understand that was the total tax impact. So like, as opposed to say, okay, it went up 3 cents over last year, we wrote the total tax impact. I think Nate has his hands up, I think he's gonna go over it, but I just wanna make sure that it's fixed before these get printed.
Well, you be careful, because what we're talking about, go ahead, Nate.
What warrant article number is it? What number
It was
is
for
it?
Article number 2.
Thank you.
In the email, I sent it to you guys to look over. And Peg did make that correction. Because the warrant article for the budget was the impact of what the
34 cents.
budget would be. And she says, no, you really should put it just the increase. So that's what I changed it to.
I think the best thing we did this year, and it was a good thing, I think it helped us, when we gave the number for our total revenue and acceptor coming in and subtracted it from the total number, and people got to see it. That really helped us.
I agree. Thank you, Nate.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Nate.
That was a good job, Nate. Go ahead.
Has everyone looked at it? Is it possible for you guys to okay it?
Will you send it back out with the corrections, Nate?
I haven't yet.
Well, if it needs a vote,
Yeah,
it'll be another month before you.
Yeah, I need to vote, really.
So we could vote that we accept the warrant articles with any amendments that need to be done.
Okay, I will make
Okay.
that motion then. For the voters side, with corrections that need to be made, and you will send that out, so afterwards, right, Nate?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
I'll second.
The other two members hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a real bad one there.
We all set?
I thought it made sense, but yeah. I'm the one that wrote it too, so
What?
nothing. Go ahead.
You being mean to me again?
No, Steve means himself. Aye.
Peg, did you say aye?
Yes, I did.
I'm hesitant, but I'll say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. We all set? Do we have
Thank
any
you.
old business? Okay, committee reports. I got a request from that committee I got put on that did the survey for the town. And there was some information in there about the school, pros and cons, and they want to come before the board and make a presentation. And that's up to the board. Would you like to have them come in? Now, in this survey, basically what it is, do you support this or don't support this? There's no solutions, okay? Or do you want to see the numbers?
What was the actual question? Because I did fill out the survey, and I was on the Economic Development Committee, and it was just what is really important in town, what is, so I mean, it was nothing really that I remember, but you're on that committee now?
Well, all I want to do is to tell you what percentage was favorable toward the school and what percentage wasn't favorable toward the school. There was no solutions in the suggestions. It's up to the board. I was asked, and I asked.
Sure. It would be nice to know what
No idea what you're talking about.
is going on out there.
Well, the town did a survey.
Right.
Okay, so they get the town and the school and everybody to work together to bring things together, and that's what that survey was all about.
Okay.
We didn't do the survey?
I think I did it. The one where you order things and,
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
it. Okay, they want to come in and give you the numbers.
oh, okay.
That's up to you. Larry, come on.
I can do this.
Was that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Thank you.
What Doug is talking about and what he is part of is what is called the Task Force on Efficiency in Local Government Task Force. Sent out a questionnaire that went out either to be picked up at the town hall or to be done by email or be done on SurveyMonkey. There were about a 10% response, approximately 350 people. The responses got broken into three areas. One having a direct impact on efficiencies in town government. As for example, the number of hours that the various departments should be open, number of employees, how to better access inter-town contacts. The second part had to do with those things which did or did not make the town of Milton an attractive place to live, as for example, the pros and cons of having 2 exits on the Spalding, which also take traffic off the Spalding and away from local businesses. And then the third one asked certain questions about the value and prospects and operational costs of the school district. And that's when the task force decided to ask to come to the school board to bring the gross results of that survey as it affects people's perception of the school district.
Thanks, Larry.
That's it. Nice work. All right. Okay. Okay, any more public comments? Go ahead.
Boys varsity basketball won tonight. How did they beat them? It was really great to see everybody out there participating. That was my public comment.
That's a nice public comment.
That's win number 2, right, Al?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Larry put up his hand, Earl. Wait a minute. Go ahead, Larry.
Sorry.
Let me be formal on this.
I have been a long-term supporter of the school board. In fact, I think I've been on and with the school board longer than anyone on the school board. And I am not always, shall we say, the most cuddly person. My questions are sometimes sharp and pointed. And for the record, I want to say that Doug Shute has been the most courteous and participating chair that I have worked with. And I do not understand how anyone can say that he shuts off input or is not courteous and respectful to those who want to speak to this group.
Not perfect.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, we're not gonna have a non-public because, what happened is
The inspection couldn't be done on the systems in the school, because it got canceled, I think it's gonna be done. They want to put it back on for the March 10th meeting. So there's no non-public. So, all we're gonna need.
Is there a meeting?
No, if you want a meeting, we can have a meeting. It's up to you. It's up to me.
Was that no meeting for the fire alarm? Is that what you were saying? Or the other thing?
There's no non-public tonight. They want to be moved to March 10th. They're asking.
Okay, Doug, I have one thing I'd like to raise.
Go ahead.
Adjourn. May I?
May you? Nobody's been able to stop you, Earl. Go ahead.
I guess you noticed. Well, I do want to say, I think I'm speaking on behalf of the administrative team and myself. I've been doing administration for over 40 years. And I do, I'm not looking for a raise, nor am I trying to get on his right side. But I want to say that Paul Steer has done a fantastic job. I think that he's been transparent up front. He never approaches me or talks about or comes into a meeting with a preconceived idea. And he thinks of all the students in all of the town. And he's just a stand-up guy who has done a fantastic job. and it's been unbelievable to work with him. And I know whatever role he does within the town, he'll do a great job. And I'd like to thank him on behalf of us all, and I think it speaks for John and Jan and the whole staff. He's been open and fair, and really, we like to thank him, and it's been fantastic to work with you, Paul. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yep.
I think it's been fun working with all of you.
I have something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, as people know, this is, well, since we don't have another meeting, this is my last meeting being on the school board. What an incredible time. It's been a great 7 years, man. Just when you think, you know, you don't learn more things, you learn so many new things. I've worked with a bunch of people, you know, a bunch of different principals right down the road. Doug's been right there for the whole thing. He taught me how to do this. Wealth of knowledge. Been an incredible chairman. Everybody on the board I've been with since, you know, Andy Crone, all those guys way back in the day, and Ann Walsh, and right up through now, the principals, everything. You probably don't see it on a daily basis, but I know what an incredible asset you all are to this team. And don't stop. Do not ever stop fighting for what you want, no matter how many people you make mad. You know, we all are passionate in this for a reason. I think it's because of all of our passions that we have advanced the school board so much over the last year than you know, it's we could ever say. So, thank you everybody for letting me say my piece when I sometimes probably shouldn't have.
All right.
Doug, we are gonna have a party for him when this whole thing is over, and we can take our masks off and get together, so.
Kids get school money though, you'll take it out of your salary.
If I can get free from planning board and
Whoa, yeah, that'll be busy.
yeah, vote.
Okay. All right, if nobody has anything else, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. That was great, Tammy.
Second.
Paul, anybody else? Okay. Peg?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.